Welcome to the Agents of the Roundtable Wiki Community AMA. We discuss Secret Network and its applications with guests from all around the network. This is an audio recording of the AMA. We hope you enjoy.
Okay, welcome everyone. Let's get started. We put out a tweet, and every channel has an announcement that we're starting, so we can get going. Leon, you want anyone else on from your team? I see Bushi's also here, and Aztec, I think, is does some things for you guys, or is it good like this, just you?
I think for now it's just me. I only have one phone and no one else to join me today, but that's okay. So,
Oh, good. Well, let's get started. Welcome everyone to another Agents of the Roundtable episode, hosted by the Secret Agency and me, Arteman. This week we have Leon on from Play Bushi and OneNet, which is a gaming platform and a third-person shooter, which is coming to Secret Network and the interchain in general. So welcome, Leon. Make sure to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and how you got into Secret Network and the development of your application.
yeah, well, hello everybody. Like Erdman said, I am Leon. Currently a founder over at OneNet, which is building Bushi, a Web3 third-person competitive shooter. And I guess my background in gaming, you can say, well, I'll do gaming and then a professional background, but in gaming, I've been an avid gamer since I was like 10 years old, starting from games like World of Warcraft and Call of Duty. And then I had my little run during college, trying to do competitive video games, playing in Counter-Strike Go, and then also playing competitively in Valorant more recently, maybe like 2 years ago now. But during that time, I was also working over at Secret Nodes or Secret LLC. So shout out Ian and Jacob over at Secret Nodes. Working there as kind of like a UX UI designer, working pretty extensively on the Secret Nodes Explorer as well as the Secret, working on Secret DAO, the early stages of Secret DAO, that is. And then I guess in Secret Network, I've been kind of here and there, working within like the governance and leadership, making really strong connections over at pretty much in the Secret Network. And then more recently, now we've kind of, I've kind of gone on my own path with my own company, and more so getting a grant over at Secret Network via Secret Labs. And now, taking that company, taking Bushi and OneNet to the finish line over launching in December, and a full release hopefully quarter two of next year. And yeah, I guess that's the most brief I can make this, hopefully.
Yeah, an impressive summary already. Yeah, you've been in the ecosystem for a long while, and suddenly we heard of an announcement. I'm going to do something on my own, and an application is coming, which of course made a lot of people excited. So I think we've all seen the first trailers of Bushi, which is the main thing you guys are promoting right now. Even though, as I understood, one that is intended to be a gaming platform overall. Could you go a little bit in depth on what Bushi will be and how it can be played? Maybe a game to what it compares to, and explain a bit what the game will be when it launches in December.
Yeah. Yes, like you said, Bushi is the main thing that we're promoting right now, but our long-term play is OneNet, which is the game distribution platform, much like a decentralized Steam version, I guess. But Bushi, what you'll probably expect over in December is, well, I guess just a very brief summary of what Bushi is. So it's a third-person competitive shooter that's aimed to be esports ready, pretty much. So what esports ready means is kind of like it's ready to be streamed. The networking is very, very good in terms of like offering a network that can make an easy playing field for everybody in terms of like ping. There's very little desync, and it's highly, highly optimized to be able to be like I guess fast paced. And if the game feels like if you shoot something, or if you feel like you shoot something, it hits the target, right? So we're doing a lot of work right now on optimization in terms of the net code, and just offering very basic things like, observer cameras, so that, people can watch the stream in a kind of like a third person, I guess, view to spectate every match. There's like ranking leaderboards, there's rank statuses and stuff like that. But right now, in our current development of Bushi for Alpha, uh, you can expect to see these kind of core things, which is 3 playable maps, which is Temple, Bridge, and Dohyo. And then 3 playable characters, which is the main character, Son Goku, which is a kind of like a Japanese spin-off of Sun Wukong, and then also the Cataclops model from Secret DAO and the Cyclops Circus NFT community, as well as the new addition to our video game, which is the Anon Army playable character, which we just got our first draft of the concept art, and we should be sending that over pretty soon for anybody who is an Anon fan. Um, and also, just like a quick update for the Cataclops guys, we fully finished the 3D model, and now we're working on the animations as we just finished the rig for the model, and we'll be revealing that model very, very soon. I'd probably say within the week or 2 weeks. So very exciting stuff. But relatively, that's what you'll expect. It's a 5 versus 5 arena. And I'm gonna be talking very gamer lingo here. So if there's any clarification that anyone needs, let me know. But it's a 5 versus 5 arena. It's like a mix between a tactical shooter and a arena battleground. So what happens in the video game itself is that you start off in different spawn points with your team, depending on the actual game mode that you're playing, and you fight it out for about 3 minutes, and then within that 3 minutes, I think at minute 2, there's a circle that encloses to the center of the map, kind of forcing you to fight, very close quarters if the other team or your team has not been completely wiped out. And there's that mode, which is more of like a search and destroy without the destroy portion. And then there's also team deathmatch. There's capture the point, and then I think that pretty much sums it up. And then sorry to blab so long, but where I want to kind of incorporate the whole blockchain space or Web3 space is that NFTs in this video game are purely microtransactions for cosmetics in the game. No amount of money that you spend will change your, I guess, skill level or your power rankings or anything of the sort. It's purely cosmetic, and then at the same time, it is technically a play and earn model with a battle pass that you can purchase. And in that battle pass, there is very, very small rewards via token and NFTs. But as our tokenomics says it right now, we have only really allocated 1% of our total supply to giving out rewards within the video game, purely because we're not very focused on giving, I guess, a salary or something like that via the video game. It's been a video game that initially started out in Web 2. We were building this for about 2 years, and it transitioned over to a Web 3 because it made sense, and I kind of had my little, I guess, obsession with the secret network and then cryptocurrency in general. and that's where it is today. So that's my like brief overview of what it is going to be like in alpha. There's so much more I could say. I wish it wasn't so long.
It's a very brief overview.
I'm so sorry.
No. It's great to get like now everyone completely understands what's going on, right? So it removes some questions for me already, which makes it easier.
I mean, there's much
Uh,
more though. Like that, I only said what was gonna be in alpha, but there's so much more that there's gonna be in full release that I won't say just yet. But if you want to talk about it later, I'm completely up for it.
yeah, of course. Maybe to get back to the first things you said, as in what the game design is going to be. It's going to be a third person shooter, is said, and it's I guess the time mechanism you explained sort of makes it so it's closer to like a battle royale type of game as well, right? Where um, you are forced at a certain point to fight in an area instead of just walking around and killing each other endlessly. Um, I guess a question that comes from me is you said there were teams of 5 versus 5. How will that work when there are three playable characters, or will there be a lot more characters in the end?
Yeah, so it is. There will be much more characters coming out. We have a good thing about us is that we have an internal development studio or game development studio. So we're constantly able to pump out 3D models and playable characters, new animations, and what have you. But when there is in alpha three playable characters, any person, any individual can choose what character they play in the and before they queue up for a match. Um, and with that, they can be matched up with any other character. Really, what differentiates the teams is just the color of the team. So blue and red, or blue and red, or if you have colorblind mode on, different hues of blue and red. Um, but you can tell who your enemy is because they're highlighted in kind of like a small, very like uh, discrete aura that signifies their that they are the enemy. You can see it much like in Valorant or uh, pretty much just Valorant. I think this is the only one that I can think of. And yes, you eventually are forced to go into the middle and fight, just because we really wanted to make this game really action packed. So this isn't a game that's supposed to, like, the matches and the rounds, they're not necessarily supposed to be very long, just to keep everybody's attention. Um, and research says that attention spans are getting lower. So
it's
yeah.
it's the CS:GO over the League of Legends method, I guess. You have several rounds in an esports match instead of having one long lasting game, which takes like 30 to 40 minutes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool. I used to be a very big fan when I was a child of Battlefield Heroes. I don't know if you have any recollection of that game.
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's a third person shooter as well, which worked with like heroes. They just wore different clothes anyway. It reminds me of this, or at least the gameplay sort of reminds me of this, and even a combination of Overwatch. So I'm very curious to see how it plays out. Um, and that sort of goes into the second part you said, where it's uh, the game is fast paced, esports ready, but mostly it's really designed for gamers, or at least that's what I understand from the way you integrate NFTs, for example. So, is there like some research that went behind as to why you chose to choose this very bare bones strategy, or not, maybe not bare bones, but it's like we deliver a game, and on top of that, it might be a realization for some people that your skins are actually NFTs, so you could do something with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, just to make it clear, the video game again, right? It was initially made for Web 2. And we initially planned that we were going to go in and compete in the Web 2 market. Quickly found out that, it's extremely saturated. The competition is extremely tough, and um, at the time, it didn't really make sense to launch in the Web2 space. And at the same time, of course, I have my founders with me, and I'm one of the loudest in the room when it comes to my founders. So I, at that time, when we were figuring out what it is that where we were going to launch on, I was already getting into my, I guess, crypto obsessive phase, which I still currently am in now. Um, and I talked to them about it, and I said, hey, I know that you guys hate Web3 somewhat, right? Because there's a very, very negative stigma with Web3 video games from the Web2 market. And I could go on for days about that, but I won't. But there's a very negative stigma in terms of, why does it need to be a video game that goes into or that includes NFTs? And for me, it kind of goes to a very personal story, kind of. But as a kid, I have more hours in video games than I would really like to say. But I will say that I have at least 10,000 hours in Counter Strike, and then I have 10,000 hours in Valorant, which is just two games. Um, and with those 10,000 hours, I have multiple amounts of, I guess, currency that I've spent on these video games. And it never really sat right with me, especially when I found out about NFTs, that I've spent my most valuable currency, which is my time, and also my energy into these video games and never got a single thing out of it other than, I guess a couple of like winnings from tournaments, but most gamers don't have that. Um, and so I saw a perfect fit, or we saw a perfect fit, it wasn't just me, with NFTs, saying that if we just do what Web2 is doing, which is making a fun video game and doing microtransactions, but allowing people to actually trade or resell, or I guess get their money back, quote unquote, from purchasing a skin, then it is just an additive to what Web2 is doing. And of course, we've seen everything in terms of like the play to earn movements where you play and you get like recurring revenue, I guess, for yourself in that. But we never really wanted that, just because we saw a trend that focuses too much on the play to earn aspect. Um, and coming from the Web2 industry, it wasn't very attractive to us. We just wanted to make a fun game, a really fun game that allows people to get something out of it, or maybe hopefully get their like return on investment back. And I use investment very seldomly because this is just a skin in a video game, right? Um, so that's really the reason why we wanted to incorporate NFTs, or why I was such a big pusher for including NFTs in the video game. Um, and then it turned into OneNet, which was like, okay, if Steam isn't going to allow Web3 video games, then someone has to, which made sense for us.
Yeah, so maybe that's the perfect segue to move into what is OneNet. But quickly before that, I'll say as well that I really enjoy this view of Web3 gaming, if you want to give it that name. As in, I am maybe not a professional gamer, but I used to game a lot, and I'm also of this idea that it doesn't make a lot of sense to play a game to just earn something. I mean, I used to play thousands of hours of RuneScape just to see some fireworks pop up, or the rank up in League of Legends or whatever. It is fun, and I guess I completely agree with the feeling that if you've played it a lot, or you spend some in-game currency or out-of-game currency to get some skins, and you're never able to actually use them anymore as soon as you hop over to a different game, is sort of a sad feeling. Might be very good for the publishing companies, but it's for users, it's not the best experience. So it's cool that you guys are trying to solve that.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a super good segue to OneNet, because we're so against the like the ecosystem of, like, for example, Steam, where the money just recycles through Steam versus the users. And when you take a step back and like don't look at the video games, it's a very if I could be like blunt for a second, it's a very scummy way of doing things, which we're completely against.
I'd imagine it's similar to like Apple Play Store, for example, where they take the big percentage of the fees. But maybe this is then the good time to go into OneNet. Like, what will OneNet offer? But besides hosting Bushi, what is is it very easy for other people to deploy games? Would it have like an engine where you can create your own games, or is it just a hosting platform and an infrastructure provider? Like, what is the level of, I guess, infrastructure and utilities that OneNet will provide to other games who might be launching on the platform?
Yeah. So this is something that we've talked about quite a bit recently, specifically just to map out exactly what OneNet is. And like you said, the main bread and butter of OneNet is that it is a game distribution platform, right? Where we essentially, all we do is host a video game on the platform, not necessarily host the video game on our servers. That's something that we really want to do in the future, because that is like what Steam really like. I guess that's their biggest selling point to developers, is the fact that they offer pretty much free servers to any game developer out there. But right now, that's not necessarily feasible for OneNet, especially if you consider like the whole decentralization movement, where what servers out there can really handle multiple video games like this, other than like AWS or some other centralized server. But regardless, that the bread and butter is being a game distribution channel, and that ties in with the fact that it also is a marketplace, much like a marketplace that Steam is. And you're gonna hear me say Steam a lot, because I'm not gonna lie, we're very, very close to what Steam is. But um, it ties in with the marketplace, because you're essentially, if you purchase an NFT to access a video game, it is essentially buying a digital copy of a video game. However, you can change it to where it's a limited access, by having like a finite amount of NFTs to access the video game, or you can make it unlimited, and just sell pretty much what a digital copy of a video game is, except for this time you can sell it on the marketplace, which leads to the second point. It is a buy, sell, and trade. So you can trade, or you can buy NFTs, that can either be skins in a video game or a video game copy itself, or you can sell them to somebody else who wants it. You can trade it for another video game or another skin that relates to a video game, and that is the biggest like bread and butter of uh, OneNet in general. Is this marketplace that really is just distributing video games. Um, on top of that, we offer quite a bit of infrastructure, I guess you could say, for developers, including very basic things like allowing them to use our friend list, having it multiplayer, allowing them to make custom games by using our APIs or our SDKs, and that still needs to be kind of like ironed out. But essentially, what would happen in the very beginning is that we would onboard a development team who has a video game idea that we've vetted, and we see that it's not like just a rug, to be blunt. And we would essentially hand walk them through our own internal system, so that they can just plug and play it within their video game. Um, and then, of course, like I said, we would like to offer servers in the future when we believe the technology is ready. And then Not only that, I guess this can go a little bit deeper into like we offer grants for aspiring like game developers out there who really just need the extra capital, much like we were when we needed just the extra capital to launch our video game or to start the idea. We also offer a university, which this one is actually like very on the down low, but we've already onboarded 2 students into our own team that are going through this kind of quote unquote university that we're teaching. One is learning VFX artists from or VFX from one of our uh, founders, and then the other one is learning 3D modeling. That is also learning from one of our founders. So we offer that as a kind of like a service just to give back to the community. At the same time, it's like a win-win for us because they learn and then we also get to like, I guess, poach some talent here and there. Um, let's see, what else do we have here? Sorry, I'm just thinking there's so much to go over. I know I'm like blabbing my mouth off.
It's fine, man. People are listening. We're just getting to know the application, seeing what's coming up.
Yeah, I get super excited when I talk about both projects. So let me know if I'm blabbing too long.
No, you're not. I guess maybe a question which comes in from my side. I saw OneNet will have a token, and I might just be interested as to in how that is integrated. You said people who play Bushi might earn like a little bit of rewards, but I assume the token is mainly meant for the OneNet platform. And besides using it to like buy and sell the NFTs on the platform, like what is the use case? What's going on with it?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right that it's mainly meant for the marketplace, just to power every transaction, and just to kind of circulate the economy within the community that we've built. That is mainly what it's for. It's also a governance token, so it acts as a governance token. You can stake it to access some of the different features on the platform, including lower fees in general, for like any transaction, right? So like you can kind of think about Steam, for example, takes about 30% of every transaction on the marketplace. If you stake it, if you stake the OneNet token to the platform, it actually lowers your fees, and kind of like a reward for keeping it locked and invested into the ecosystem. Um, you can also stake a certain amount of it to actually gain access to analytics. So this is something that I kind of skipped over right before this, but we also offer analytics to both developers and the gamers themselves. So how analytics works for Bushi is we actually track, and it doesn't get as intrusive as some trackers out there, but we track like your headshot percentage, your kill death ratios, the amount of deaths that you have, or I mean, sorry, the kills per round that you have, and your matches won and stuff like that. And that is geared towards making you a better player because it's esports like incentivized. Um,
I love that really. Like I'm a data freak. When I used to play games, I
yeah.
was on these analytics sites like day in, day out. I think I spent more time on op.gg than actually playing
Oh
League.
wow. Oh wow, yeah, I love op.gg. That's actually Blitz, which is also league focused or centric, I guess, was where we got kind of the idea from, and then it doesn't get as intrusive though because uh, we don't like track your name or your email or technically we do if you choose the Web2 route, but really it's just based on the your wallet, and we don't actually like store your name or anything like that or your password and stuff like that. But there's analytics for developers as well, which is something that we're pretty excited about because this will make for better game developers, including like how many total users average do you have, how much do they play, but like it doesn't go, it's a very generic number, by the way. It's not like this person played this amount of time at this time, right? It doesn't get as intrusive as that. Um, then you have your daily users, you have your community feedback section too. So developers can kind of talk directly with their community. I'm sure they'll have their own Discord and stuff like that, but it's also good to just have it in a very in one place. And I kind of went off track, but in terms of the OneNet token as well, there's a cool little feature that we have going, which is upgradable NFTs, which is why we wanted to make the token in the first place, kind of, or like what sparked the idea of the token. But essentially, you can purchase an NFT. Specifically, let's talk about our Genesis NFT. Or no, let's not talk about our Genesis NFT. Let's talk about an NFT, for example, in the future where we have a skin. So it's a skin, a playable model in the game. You can actually purchase the NFT with a OneNet token, and then you can upgrade it in a tier list, meaning that you spend token to upgrade the NFT, quote unquote. You can burn it in the metadata, and it communicates with our server to give you the next tier of skin in the video game, which is kind of cool. It shows that you kind of have you have invested more than just the initial mint to your NFT, and it becomes a lot more personalized that way. Which is, yeah, I think that's that's pretty much the basic use of the token. We didn't want to go too heavy into the token because of the fact that we just want a video game at the very end of the day. So
yeah, there's a fine line between providing utility and just doing something for the sake of making it Web3-ish. And it really seems like every choice which you guys had to make regarding whether you were going to implement a Web2 solution or Web3 solution was very thought out, and I like that. I mean, you can build a lot of projects or products which don't need a token or don't need a token for a lot. So sometimes it's good to just say, these are the simple use cases. For that, you can use it. And that's why we decided to do this. So yeah, glad you're so open about for what you can use it and what the idea behind it is. Maybe, sorry, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, just really quickly. So another really cool part about the OneNet platform is that you can actually do most of everything with fiat currency. However, if you buy a skin with fiat currency, it's just not tradable, right? It's bound to your account. That is your, I guess, purchase via fiat. And then if you wanted to and then of course there are gates, right? So you gate it with, if you want some of these skins that are only available via token, then you're gonna have to create a wallet and get the token. But in order to incentivize the Web2 community as well, we have to offer incentivized skins and stuff like that via fiat. So it's both fiat. It runs through both fiat and crypto. Well, the OneNet token, which I think is very inclusive.
Yeah. So maybe one quick question or two actually. I guess Play Bushi will. You have to buy a license. You have to buy an NFT in order to play the game. I guess we can answer that first.
Yeah. So in order to play in order to play alpha, yes, you have to. It is gated by buying access to the game via the Genesis NFT or any NFT that allows access to the alpha. But when it is fully released, it will be absolutely free to play.
Cool. Ready for any and all users.
Yes.
And then besides that, it is clearly highlighted on OneNet that the idea is that if you buy an NFT in one game or do something in one game, that this might be cross-compatible with another game, or at least another game might decide to use the same NFT to also provide a feature or something. So are all of these NFTs minted on Secret Network, or do you have are you planning on having your own chain or another side project as well where some of these NFTs are hosted, or is everything on the Secret Network blockchain?
Yeah, so as of right now, everything is going to be a SNP 721 standard. So it'll be minted on the Secret Network chain. Now we'll have our own marketplace, so you could probably mint it on our website or on the platform itself. But for right now, yes, it will be just on Secret, but I don't want to talk too much. We do have plans of incorporating another ecosystem, um, without, yeah. I'll just say that.
Don't spill too much if you can't.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the end, a lot of things are interoperable, of course, in the ecosystem. I mean, there is an Ethereum bridge possible. Ethereum SNP 721s can also move across the ecosystem very soon. So there are always ways to provide that interoperable working, and it's, in my opinion, a very good idea that some of these NFT mints are abstracted away from a user. Like a user can go to OneNet, buy a skin, and maybe have no clue that it's an NFT, but later can resell it and prove that he has the identity over that.
Yeah. The whole idea of OneNet and where like the name comes from is that we wanted just one place that you can launch your video games. But that's really it. We've never really necessarily thought that a video game has to be hosted on the same network or it has to be hosted in the Cosmos, right? Um, I mean, technical limitation says that right now, but our long-term vision is the fact that you can have any game on any ecosystem, and in order to like do the access control, find a way to, uh, I guess, scan for that token ID, and then have them just be able to launch the game on OneNet, and really that's really it. That's how we vision how Web3 gaming is going to be, actually accessible, actually user friendly, and it doesn't require for you to be on the same network.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard a lot. I'm really excited, actually. I must say, I read some of your information on the website and all, but honestly, I always see some of these AMA sessions as a good way to also dive deeper into what someone is doing. So it's good I can host all of these, so I can eventually learn about every project in the ecosystem. Um, it's I don't know. It's just very cool to see how far you guys are already with this game. Uh, I heard you already started this long before it was announced that it was coming to Secret, but I didn't realize you guys were so close. So I will be eagerly waiting to test the alpha in December. I probably will play a bit too much of this game, but we'll see by then. I guess for now it's time to see if the community has some questions, so they can come on, raise your hand, and can ask a question to Leon about either OneNet or Bushi or about his journey. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, and I'll get you on stage. Welcome, both Aztec and Archaic. Archaic was first, so welcome to you. Feel free to ask your question.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it. When we're upgrading these NFTs, will we actually, in fact, get 2 NFTs in case we would like to use the original, or how would that work?
So the way that we're designing it right now is, if you have you have your initial NFT, right, and that metadata stays, and then you upgrade or burn a different line of code, or I mean, I'm not the most technical person that's designing this mechanism, but I know the very high level version of it. But you add on essentially another new set of data into the metadata, and then in our internal servers, we give you access to both of those versions of that skin. So if you upgrade your NFT, you have the choice of doing your tier 1 or your tier 2 skin, and you pick that in the game right before you queue.
Right on, thanks.
Hey, Aztec, you're also here. Feel free to ask your question.
Hey, thank you, Ertumin. Hey, Leon. So you were talking earlier about kind of the aura that's kind of around the character. Will we have our gamer tags above our heads?
So I think I'm sure that we right now we do have gamer tags above your heads, but I think you can actually opt to take it off within the options. Some people don't like the fact that it's too crowded on the screen, and so I think we're gonna allow or have a setting that takes off um, that gamer tag.
Got it. And then with like the skins and everything, will there be other weapons?
Yeah, so we're playing with the idea that an NFT can be a single item. Um, it's a bit difficult. There's a little bit of difficulty in doing that because every NFT that we sell or we have will have to correlate to a 3D model. And of course, we can pump out more and more 3D models, but it does take quite a bit of work for the 3D modeler. Thankfully, it's not me, but yeah, well, we're considering it. There are going to be different weapons. We've also, so I guess this is a good time to clarify. Right now, every character in the video game is the same. It's just cosmetic, right? So every character has the same, I guess, variables in terms of like their dash, their melee, their aim down sight, stuff like that. All of that is the exact same throughout every single character. However, we're playing with the idea that it could be class based. So, for example, um, the Cataclops models could become a different class that uses, like, you know, a gun or a lightsaber or whatever your heart imagines or what desires really. So we're playing around with the idea. Um, for anyone that knows that class-based heroes right now are like a really trendy thing, specifically in Valorant, League of Legends, your average, tank, DPS, healer roles. So we're playing around with the idea. Uh, it gets hard because you have to design the game or you have to balance the game accordingly. And for right now, the easiest way for us to balance the game is to make everyone the same. Until we scale, hopefully we scale to be able to do that, but definitely something on our minds.
Nice. Yeah, I play League of Legends, and when I was a kid, I played a lot of RuneScape, and I play RuneScape too every once in a while, just nostalgically. So really excited about this game. I was also wondering, I'm not sure if it's probably way too early to talk about this, but I know like governance is a huge deal, and talked about like token having governance, and like will that potentially be tied into kind of like voting for the games on OneNet? Like,
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that you can do with the governance portion of OneNet. There are some things you can't do for OneNet. Specifically, the things you can't do, and I know this is not really answering your question, but I want to make it clear. The things that you can't do is like change the game, right? To a certain extent. It depends on what the developer wants, right? But for Bushi specifically, I don't think it's within reason or scope to propose a change to like a certain move, right? Um, or at least right now. Maybe in the future, yes. Like if something is completely imbalanced, then yeah, you can vote to do like an emergency patch or an update to the game. Um, but what you can do with the governance tokens is that you can propose the next game, um, and vote to see, like, for example, we'll probably have an event where there are three game types specifically for the OneNet team. We have about like six or so prototypes that we're kind of looking to do for our second game. Of course, that won't come for a little bit because we really, really want to do Bushi right. But we'll have three game types, whether it's like, do you want to see a first person shooter next? Do you want to see a MOBA next? Do you want to see a strategy game next from the OneNet team? And that will be voted um, via governance token, which I think is a huge deal because at that point, the community is pretty much asking us to create the next video game that they're all going to be super excited for. At the same time, you can vote in for other developers, so other like development studios out there or game studios that like want to, I guess, propose a grant or propose from the community pool some, I guess, capital to launch their video game. That could be voted on as well. And let's see what else. I think generally on the top of my head, those are like the major points that I thought was like completely different from your normal like L1s. We're not an L1, but yeah.
Yeah, super exciting, man. I think it's interesting how like many like co-founders and founders in Web3 kind of have like these gaming backgrounds. Like, I mean, even Vitalik had that story that he told everyone like years ago where he was like playing WoW and someone kind of, I guess, like nerfed his mage or whatever it was, and he had like tons of hours in it. He had no say, and like it kind of led to him building decentralized or building Ethereum. So I don't know, and hearing your story as well, which has been actually your story is very much like my story, where like you know, all of your time, your energy is just stuck in one game. I think it's going to be exciting to actually have a platform in games that you can transition that energy around and, you know, also hang out with other people. So super excited,
Yeah.
man.
It's very interesting that you say the Vitalik story because with our NFT specifically, the Genesis NFT, it works with other video games, right? So if you have, I mean, this is at least what we're, I guess, like planning to do. But with the Genesis NFT, if for example, another developer on the OneNet platform, not the OneNet team, creates a video game and then allows everyone with that Genesis NFT to play it, even if we were to take down Bushi, which I don't believe will ever happen, then they can still have that NFT and be able to utilize it within another video game, which is why I was so bullish on the fact that NFTs actually exist when I found out that this stuff could happen. I'll be the first person to say that, you know, when NFTs first came out, I wasn't a fan. The whole JPEG idea, the whole art idea. I mean, maybe this is because I'm just not an artist per se, but it just never really made sense to me why you would want to own a JPEG, right? Quote unquote. That was me in the previous like months, not being very fully aware of the capabilities of NFTs. But I absolutely think that the perfect use case for NFTs is video games in general. That and real estate, but I won't talk about real estate. I could be completely wrong on that one. So I'll stick with what I know, which is video games makes perfect sense for video games. Or I mean, NFTs make perfect sense for video games, just because it's exactly like purchasing a digital copy of a video game. But this time you can trade it, so it just makes sense.
Right. Totally agree, man. I think the utilities of NFTs are just, you know, we're just barely scratching the surface. But yeah, thanks, Artemis, for letting me come up, and thanks, Leon, for answering these questions. I'm super bullish, super excited, and can't wait to potentially stream and play against all you guys. So, or with you guys.
I'm actually doubting whether or not I should use my own name when I start playing this alpha. Should I use Erdeman and have the potential where I'm super bad and people will make fun of me, or you or use a different name and potentially be really good, and then what?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I'm just gonna go in, man. You guys can make fun of me.
A cool feature that we learned from Valorant is that you can actually hide your name to be a generic name. And then a lot of other video games out there took it on. Well, I mean, I'm sure it happened before in other video games, but a lot of like Apex Legends, for example, adopted it. And now you can like, it's in the beginning, or you can choose to show your name, or you can just choose to show your character model's name. And I think that's what we're going to do too, because I've used the feature before knowing that like, oh, I played bad, but I'm going to queue up again, but I don't want people to know who it is that I am. So I hide my name with my character name. So we're probably going to implement that as well.
Could I'm not sure if this would make sense, but could you actually make the name itself an NFT? So where like if people want like a particular name, they'd have to purchase it with OneNet tokens, and then like people would kind of fight over the almost like license plates on vehicles, how they have value.
Yeah, yeah, like fighting for the same name. You know,
Yeah,
I've never really thought about that, but that's something that could happen. I know for a fact that I hate it when I can't get the name that I want, but I know, like, for example, in World of Warcraft, you could search people's names up
yeah,
on WoW Armory, right? And then you can see that the player hasn't played or logged in for like 5 years or something like that, right? So it would be cool for them to sell the name just because they know that they're not going to play for another 5 years. So that could be very interesting.
yeah. OneNet token utility. That's a cool one, but yeah,
We'll add
and
that to the
sometimes people take
list.
my name. What'd you say?
I said we'll add that to the list.
Yeah, I
The
run
the
into
endless
many.
list of ideas.
True. All right, guys, I'll stop talking because I probably have a million things, but yeah, thanks for letting me up here.
Yeah, thanks for
Thanks,
taking
Aztec.
over. I'll let you host the next one. I can take a day off.
Or we should collaborate, man. I'm down to collab with you. I love your mind.
Thank you. So, everyone, if there is still anyone who has a question here, feel free to come on. I've learned so much about OneNet and Bushi already, so I'll just dive in a little bit deeper. And as soon as the alpha has come out, maybe we can do this again. Have a discussion about what's coming up at that time frame and in the Q2 and Q1 and Q2 releases of 2023. For now, if no one else has questions, I want to say that a big thank you to Leon for joining, and also to Aztec and Archaic for asking some questions. We are here every Thursday at 5 p.m. UTC. You can find our recordings on Spotify, on YouTube, Google, Amazon, Pocket Cast, basically everywhere. So search Secret Agency Agents of the Roundtable and you will find us. The recording of this will be live somewhere next week. Next week, we will have Sienna Network on Thursday, talking a little bit about their upcoming launch of Sienna Launch. So if you're interested, then make sure to join also next week. For now, a big thank you to Leon, and make sure to read the Secret 2.0 blog post that just came out. It's really interesting.
Very excited for Secret 2.0. I hope there's much more to be said about 2.0. Super, super excited.
Okay, then I'll give the floor to you, Leon. Is there one last thing you want to tell people? Where can they find you? How can they help OneNet and Bushi to become available to the larger public? How can we support you?
Yeah, so right now the best place to support is probably through the Twitter and Discord. So we have two Twitters, Play Bushi, so at Play Bushi, and then at Launch OneNet for OneNet. Right now we're heavily focusing on just promoting the video game and just reaching the masses. Believe it or not, I would say that it's harder, at least for me, to market a video game than it is to actually build it, right? Um, Especially when you have a team that is mainly just developers. So the best way to help us out is to just spread awareness through those social platforms. We've also hired, or not hired, but we've partnered, I'd like to say partnered, with a community manager now, which is Melch. He's been very active in the Secret Network, so I'm sure many of you know him. And he's done wonders to our Discord, and is making it a lot more inclusive, a lot more friendly in terms of future games, like Discord games coming up, events, and whatnot. So shout out to Melch. But go ahead and check us out on Discord, which is I think the handle is still Playbushi, although we did change it to be a OneNet server. But same thing, it's going to host every video game that we have on there to be, kind of like our hub for most of our announcements. Most of like the alphas. There's a bunch of alpha that I drop in there every now and then, as well as our Telegram, which is Play Bushi as well. So those social platforms, the best way to just help us out is like a retweet or a like, and that is pretty much all we really ask for.
Nice, we will do that. So go find Play Bushi and OneNet on Twitter. Give them a like, give them a follow. Maybe be a bit annoying to esports bets and say, hey, this game is coming up. Do you want it on your platform? Do stuff like that. Liam will be very happy with it. Then for now, for now, I want to thank you all for listening, and I'll see you next Thursday, 5 p.m. UTC, or see you on one of our platforms, podcasts, and YouTube. So see you there. Thank you all for joining, and have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening in on the Agents of the Roundtable Community AMA. Follow us on Twitter at secret_AOTRT and every Monday at 7 p.m. UTC in the Secret Network Discord.